Good afternoon. This is Pat with Pettis Advanced Training Solutions. Today we will be doing our third video on our three-part series with Master John Maynard out of Wilmington, North Carolina. Today's topic will be what I call the four horsemen. Four of the greatest martial arts in martial arts history, in my opinion and many others' opinion. Those four individuals will be, you may know who they are, Master Chuck Norris, Master Bill Wallace, Master Pat Miletich, and Master Joe Louis. So, do me a favor, like and subscribe so that I can give you more of this type of content in the future. Also, I will be putting a link of all the description of the content below. So, I'm going to turn it over to my dear friend, my instructor, and my mentor, Mr. John Maynard. Thank you for having me, Mr. Maynard.
Thank you, sir.
How did you first get started in martial arts?
Man, I grew up in a very wonderful household. My father's a World War II veteran, and I grew up in Beckley, West Virginia. It's another country that most people haven't heard of. And, you know, my father wanted something better for me than for himself. And I got started in martial arts in 1974. And, you know, me seeing everything that goes on in West Virginia and just rough, you know, and he wanted me to be a little bit different. And so he wanted me to be able to go forward and do something. And, you know, at the time there was no such thing as ADD, and he knew I was a little bit different, so he had to keep me busy. Yes. And he did. Thank God he did. And so I was very blessed to have two instructors, number one, Butch Jackson, number two, Click Bandy. And this is in Beckley, West Virginia. And, you know, they guided me through a lot of the things and got me interested in Taekwondo and just sport karate, fighting, and, you know, just number one, discipline, you know, and just staying in the game and being able to control my thoughts and you know, some of the things that I had that I really couldn't control.
Yes.
But it helped me with that. Okay, very good.
So at some point in time in your martial arts career, you happened to join Mr. Chuck Norris's association?
I did, yes, sir.
How did that come about?
Well, I played baseball, and I ended up going to Marshall University in Huntington, West Virginia, and I got involved with Mr. Danny Lane, who was one of Chuck Norris's black belts. Yes, sir. And so I got involved with that in 1981-82, and you know, it just kind of evolved from there. And then from that relationship, I ended up meeting a lot of other people, which was world champion Chuck Norris, world champion Joe Louis, world champion Bill Wallace, world champion Pat Miletich. So, you know, it just, all of those people run in the same circles. I mean, birds of a feather flock together and champions hang out together. And I was just very blessed to have those people in my life.
Yes, sir. What makes Mr. Norris' system different from other systems?
Well, I mean, the boss, Carlos Ray Norris, is his footwork was different than other people's at the time.
Yes, sir.
Whereas Mr. Wallace's kicking was different than other people at the time.
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Lewis's violence was different than other people's at the time.
Yes, sir.
And then rolling into Pat Miletich, who was just the all-around guy. He could do anything, you know. And you're talking about a career span of 40 years, and just blessed to be able to be with those people. But, you know, I'm very, very humbled by the people that I've been with, and I am a black belt of Chuck Norris, Bill Wallace, Joe Louis. I am not a Pat Miletich black belt, but maybe someday, and you know, still working on that. But you know, those guys are different and same because they have that mindset, that world championship mindset. And a lot of people don't know this, but Chuck Norris is a 7-time world champion. You know, they think he's Walker, Texas Ranger. They don't realize that, you know, this guy he's not just out there playing a karate guy. He understands that he gets it. Yes. And to this day, he still is very involved with UFAF, United Fighting Arts Federation, and also now the Chuck Norris system. and he's still very, very active, and God bless him for doing that.
Now, you just said Mr. Norris is 7-time world champion. You have some championships under your belt. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I grew up in West Virginia. I had some boxing experience and wrestling experience, but then when I got involved in karate, it was a little bit different. Sport karate, obviously different than kickboxing, and there really wasn't kickboxing at the time. There was hardcore martial arts, and I'm not saying it's MMA or anything, but it helped me understand martial arts is the true definition of martial arts is self-defense. Yes, and I think somewhere we've kind of lost that a little bit.
Yes, sir.
And we need to get back more to the discipline of martial arts.
Yes, sir.
Martial meaning military, arts meaning the beauty of it, the sweet science of boxing. All of those things come together. But I am now damn near 60 years old, and I am way back more into martial arts.
Yes, sir.
Because I just don't want to get hit anymore, And I think we went away from the martial arts and got into let's stand in the pocket and beat the hell out of each other. Yes, sir. And I have gone way away from that.
Well, you used to get on me about trying to do that, and once I realized what you said was correct, everything was a lot easier.
Yeah. Well, with what you do and you being one of our American heroes, and you deal with our law enforcement, and we are more likely in a bad situation 50% of the time to live if we're moving.
Yes, sir.
Movement is life. And the more you stand there and get hit, shot, cut, stabbed, yes, sir, the more likely you are to die. Yes, sir. And absolutely, you know that by experience.
Yes, sir.
So,
I do.
Yes, you
sir.
do.
Yes, sir.
And so we have to move. We have to stay mobile. We have to stay, if we have to be hostile. I think, again, we've lost that martial arts thing, and that's what I'm moving more towards in my elder years of doing this.
How does the 4 main players impact America as a society and martial arts as a society? 4 main players: Mr. Norris, Mr. Wallace, Mr. Militich, and Mr. Lewis. How do they impact society as well as martial arts society?
Okay, number one, I'm going to mention the boss, Chuck Norris. I don't have to say anything else. It's Chuck Norris.
Yes, sir.
That's
absolutely.
it. That's all. Okay.
Yes,
so we'll just
I grew up on Chuck Norris.
Yeah, that's over here. So we'll talk about the other guys, and I love them to death. But absolutely, Chuck's over here. The boss, Mr. Norris, is over here, and then we have those other guys. Okay, so Joe Louis was the first world kickboxing champion, the first world karate champion. Yes. Kind of unheard of. I had the opportunity to work with Joe for years, and although Joe was a rascal to deal with, you could learn a lot from him if you could deal with him. Strong, tough, mean, yes, but he knew what he was doing. He was a tactician, but he did things with violence, and I understand that. Bill Wallace, everything finesse. That front leg, left leg, hook, round, side. So everybody's like, well, Bill only does, Mr. Wallace only does hook, round, side. Okay, boxing is jab, cross, hook, uppercut. It's 4 techniques.
Yes, sir.
Bill Wallace did
yes,
hook, round, side, and body punch or back knuckle, and he's still doing it today at, we're not going to say how old he is, but, it is what it is. But the greatest in the world, but his finesse, his angles are unbelievable. And at 70 years old, the man can rock and roll, yes, just great at what he does. And he changed the way people kick. I can remember looking at Black Belt magazine and thinking about, in the 70s, I'm like, I've never seen anybody do that, because, I grew up in Taekwondo, but where you kind of did a different kind of a kick, and yes, where Bill didn't do that, He could stand here and he could hook you in the head, round kick you in the head, side kick you in the body, side kick you in the face, back knuckle you, body punch. And if you watch the old school kickboxing matches, he was just doing hardcore sport karate. Yes. That's what he was doing, and just great at it. And I think he was 23-0, so obviously he knows a little bit about what he's doing.
Yes, sir.
I think he's the only undefeated kickboxing champion that I know of. Not saying that that's true, but the only one I know of.
Yes. What about Mr. Militich's contribution?
Just the epitome of the godfather of, people talk about the godfather of this and that, but he's the guy that put everything together, the kicks, the punches, the grappling, the defense, the escapes, everything. And I've had the wonderful opportunity to work with him, and he's so good at everything and getting out of everything. And he told me this. He said, you don't need to know how to do everything. You need to know how to get out of it. And that's the key. Yes, you've got to know how to get out of this. You don't have to know how to do it. You got to know how to get out of it. You got to control the hands. You got to control the hips. And those things, hand control when you're grappling is just awesome. You being a police officer, yes, I need to control these, okay? Not many people get shot or killed with these. Absolutely. I got to control these things right here. Yes, and that he is so awesome at that.
What are your best memories that you had to date with all the time? You've had a tremendous amount of time in martial arts. You've accomplished a lot of things. What are some of your best memories with these guys?
Oh, man. Oh, my gosh. 1988, the first World Championship UFAF team I was on, we won, represented the United States of America in 1988 or 89 in the Soviet Union. We were the first team to ever go over there. Being with Master Lewis, I did an exhibition match with him in Connecticut.
I watched that 2 nights ago.
that was painful. With Bill is one of the greatest things that happened. Is one of my young guys is not young anymore, and he said he's one of the best side kickers I've ever seen. And when you hear Bill say that, Master Wallace say that, it's something, because there is no better kicker in the world ever than him.
Yes, sir.
And with Pat, it's just the greatest thing that Pat told me. If you lay there, I'll keep punching you. So, so you know, I thought I had the answer when I learned the guard, and I started. You know, I thought I was really getting good at the guard, and I can control things from the bottom. And then he took me out in the parking lot, and he wallered me around in the parking lot for a few minutes, and he kept doing this, and he said, "If you keep laying there, I'll keep punching you." And it was a rude awakening. Okay. And that's what I think a lot of people miss on stand-up ground, whatever. If you lay or stand or don't move, you're going to get hurt.
Wow, Mr. Maynard, thank you for that wonderful interview. Also, thank you for allowing me to come to Champion Martial Arts in Wilmington, North Carolina, to sit down with you and pick your brain a little bit. It is very interesting to hear some of the stories about people we only see on movies or on TV, and you know them in person. Thank you for being my friend, my instructor, and my mentor for the last 20 years. Thank you, Mr. Maynard. I love you, brother. We'll see you soon.